Stress, anxiety, and nerves ruled my public speaking in the beginning of the semester. And no matter how prepared I was, I would shake, forget my script, have mental blockouts, and most importantly, forget to breathe. I strive for perfection because I was so passionate about the topics at hand, and I wanted the audience to feel the same passion and understand my point. But as I learned from analyzing Beyonce's Pretty Hurts last semester, perfection is a disease of a nation, and oftentimes my own personal strive for perfection is what gives me overwhelming amounts of stress. Learning how to incorporate breathing and pauses into my script, in addition to all the speeches I did this semester, especially the Earth Day Fair, gave me the courage and the confidence to speak in front of crowds and deliver a quality speech. Now, I can't say that I am the best public speaker or that I absolutely loved it. However, I can truthfully say that I feel more comfortable in my own skills and abilities and no longer have a deep fear and resentment towards standing in front of people. My most common feedback that I got during my previous presentations in public speaking classes was that I needed to slow down and stop saying and so as often. And this was extremely frustrating for me, considering that every time I gave a speech, I had no idea what I actually said because I had mentally blocked out and was on autopilot half the time. As I mentioned, my own anxiety was my weakest point, and that contributed to my other weak suits. My number one goal going into this class in the beginning of the semester was to simply calm down, which for the most part is a goal that I think I accomplished or at least have worked towards. Towards the end of the semester, I hardly ran into these problems, and I think that was because I actually learned how to breathe during my speech. This strengthened my overall confidence, tone, pace, and even my body language and use of space. My favorite presentation was my final presentation, and it was about Haloa and Hawaii, and it was my favorite largely because it meant so much to me. However, after reviewing all my speeches, I realized that the Earth Day presentation was by far my strongest presentation. I believe that this was my best one because I was extremely well rehearsed and passionate about sustainability and urban farming. It was also the first time speaking at an event, and I really wanted to do well in front of my first live audience. After the speech was deleted, I was even more determined to give another quality performance. And even though my group got on my nerves and drove me crazy, I must say that a large part of my individual success came from that group's cohesion and its members. Being comfortable with my group allowed me to feel more comfortable and expressive on the stage, and I am so thankful for each and every one of them. My first presentation, was only about 30 seconds and hands down the worst presentation I gave all semester. Of course, all my practicing and hard work hardly paid off, and when it was my turn to speak, I got up there and I blanked out. I had to restart less than halfway through. Now, why did this happen? I don't know, maybe because I was fidgeting, shaking, couldn't breathe, and for the first time in a very long time, I had a bunch of eyes and all attention on me, and I didn't know what to do. The second time around went just fine. However, for the first time, I noticed that my conclusion, like my final speech, was seemingly abrupt. With that being said, concluding speeches is something that I desperately need to work on, which is an unfortunate thing to say prior to a conclusion in a final speech, but the pressure is on, and I think I got it. First, I focused on my strengths and areas that I made improvements on this semester as a way of maintaining my newfound confidence. But of course, there is always room for improvement. Besides my conclusions, I would love to keep working on keeping a still stance. Yes, my body language and my use of space has been improving. However, sometimes I feel as if my movements are distracting. I find myself pacing throughout the stage and it becomes very distracting. So ultimately, I want to work on not fidgeting and using and pacing as much. I am always well rehearsed. However, I refuse to do a speech without note cards in hand. And immediately after doing many of my speeches, I usually feel as if I didn't need the note cards and that I actually memorized the majority of the speech. Well, I realized that I didn't want to use the card. My use of the cards was only because of a lack of confidence, and it kept me confined to the note cards. My goal is that reformatting my note cards so that they act as signposts and reminders is my next public speaking goal to tackle. In conclusion, public speaking is a highly valued communication skill and is exactly what anyone can use to make a type of statement. Speech anxiety is an extremely common fear, yet public speaking is hardly unavoidable. I learned a lot of new and interesting information this semester. However, the lessons that I learned in my last class with Professor Beatty, like all of her lessons, will follow me forever, and I am truly thankful for everything. So again, thank you